Exclusive contract novel from Feilu Novel Network. Honghuang. People are intercepting teachings. I am a giant in the Heavenly Court. Qingfeng, by chance, travels to the Honghuang and becomes a disciple of the Three Heavenly Fairies. At this moment, it was not far from the apocalypse of becoming a god. Thinking of the tragic fate of Jie Jiao and the tragic ending of Master Sanxiao Fairy, Qingfeng became clear-headed in the mortal world. She knew that as a disciple who had taught for 3 generations, she could not turn the tide. For the sake of her own safety and to prevent her master from ending up in a state of despair, she planned ahead and sought refuge in the Heavenly Court. She occupied the position of the prison god in advance and gained an advantage in the first place. Become the teacher of the 3 emperors and 5 emperors, and reap tremendous fortune. The physical body was sealed as a god, cleverly avoiding the calamity of being sealed as a god. She helped San Xiao plan his luck and gained a lot of luck. After the start of the god-sealing war, it has long been unrecognizable. Feilu Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. 001, you are a person with no cultivation, how can you? You are listening at Novel Full.Audio. Sleeping trough, where am I? Qingfeng opened his eyes and looked at the shimmering fairy island in front of him. Purple air rose and countless rays of light shone, resembling a scene of an immortal family. He remembers reading a flood novel all night last night and falling asleep unconsciously when he saw it was almost dawn. But what is the situation now? Who can answer me? Who are these 3 beautiful women in front of me? Her appearance is unparalleled, ethereal and refined, like a fairy in the sky, high-spirited, unparalleled in temperament, giving people a beauty that does not exist in the world. Adjectives such as sinking fish and falling geese, closing the moon and blushing flowers cannot describe what happened. The woman in the middle of the leader is wearing a white dress, with long, shiny black hair and a faint glow flowing through her body. Her hands and feet are filled with a peaceful and tranquil atmosphere. The woman on the left side is dressed in a group of powder, like a blooming peony, giving people an indescribable grace and luxury. Standing there makes people involuntarily feel inferior. The woman on the right side is wearing a blue dress, and her beauty is a different style, exuding playfulness and ancient spirit in her laziness. The 3 women just stood there, like the most beautiful picture, making people feel relaxed and happy. It can be said that any modifiers in the world placed on them are a form of blasphemy. Sleeping trough, who can withstand this special? These 3 little girls are really too stubborn. It's not because they have weak willpower, but because the temptation is too great. As a loser with a theoretical knowledge level but basically 0 practical ability, how have you ever seen such a beautiful woman? Is this for the eyes to celebrate the Chinese New Year today? It's amazing to be able to appreciate such top 3 beautiful women. Suddenly, a strong tingling sensation swept through my mind, and fragments of memory flew by quickly. Through the memory fragments in his mind, he roughly understood what was going on. For example, the fact of his travels. Basic information about the original body. The approximate position now. The original body has the same name as him, both named Qingfeng. Just because I heard that there is a Penglai immortal island on the East China Sea, and there are immortals appearing on the island, I directly took a boat and chose to go out to sea to search for immortals. Unexpectedly, the sea was perilous. Suddenly, dark clouds shrouded and heavy rain poured down in an instant, causing the ship's expedition to overturn and resulting in a tragic death. This gave him the opportunity to travel back to his original body. Big sister, second sister, come and take a look. There's a person here who looks so handsome. I've never seen such a handsome person before. He's even more handsome than everyone in our school. The fairy wearing a blue dress smiled and said, as if even the corners of her eyes were shining at this moment. Are you handsome? It seems like you're talking about me. A beautiful woman's vision is good. Qingfeng was somewhat narcissistic, thinking that he was an ordinary loser. He was really very ordinary, although he wouldn't scare people when he came out at night. But insisting on saying, handsome, is a bit too harsh. At least he's so big, no girl has ever said he's handsome. Today is still the first time in such a long time. And she's still such a beautiful woman. Qingfeng's heart was instantly satisfied with the past and future. Wait, did she just say, intercept? I silently recited the name again, and in the next moment, Qingfeng's pupils instantly dilated, looking at the three beautiful women in front of him in disbelief. Jie Jiao is known as the heavenly sage of the 10,000 immortals coming to the court. I looked at the three beautiful women in front of me again. If he guessed correctly, these three beauties should be the legendary Three Xiao Empress. After all, in this desolate world, on the territory of the East China Sea, such a magnificent group of three beautiful women who debuted together, except for San Xiao, do not do what others think. After only being stunned for a while, Qingfeng immediately reacted and had to hug her thighs. In this desolate world where immortals are inferior to dogs, Qingfeng, an ordinary person without a background, may be seen by others as nothing more than an ant. On the other hand, the Three Heavenly Fairy in front of me, from any perspective, has very thick thighs. Firstly, in terms of strength, the 12 golden immortals of San Xiao are simply not worth considering, as they have been stripped of their 3 flowers and 5 qi. Speaking of background, they are the 4 disciples of the outside sect of the Holy Way, and belong to the group of disciples that the sect leader Tong Tian loves the most. Speaking of magic treasures, it also carries the innate spiritual treasure mixed with the golden dough, which claims to be invincible under all saints. Finally, speaking of the realm, the 3 of them have achieved the realm of the great Luo Golden Immortal, with their cultivation approaching perfection. Among them, the clouds are about to set foot in the quasi-holy realm. If he could hold on to such a thigh tightly, coupled with his familiarity with the plot direction, wouldn't he still dominate the future? 3 Masters, I have a genuine desire to become a disciple from the bottom of my heart, wholeheartedly. At this moment, Qingfeng was in a hurry and immediately bowed to the 3 fairies. Where are you from? What is your name? Why do you worship us as teachers? Yun Shao, led by 3 people, called out to his master when he heard Qingfeng speak, and couldn't help but ask. The disciple comes from the great wilderness tribe by the east coast, named Qingfeng. He went out to sea to search for immortals and asked, with the help of heaven, I have met a fairy. I begged the fairy to accept me as an apprentice in the name of the disciple's sincerity. Qingfeng is not talking nonsense, this is the true portrayal of his original self. Tribes like the great wilderness tribe are countless in the wilderness. Back in the day, Empress Nuwa created humans for a whole $1. After so many years of reproduction and development, the human race has spread throughout the entire wilderness. How could you, a person with no cultivation, come here from such a far place? Upon hearing this, Bixiao spoke up and asked. Master, I dare not expire my term. I have been drifting across the sea for more than 10 years in search of immortality, and it is only today that I have finally arrived here. Qingfeng played a trick here and confidently replied. Although he did not have the experiences he described himself, he ultimately arrived here after crossing the barriers of the world and enduring great hardships. Our 3 sisters live on the 3 Immortals Island, only 2 sisters and I live on the island. No man has ever lived on the island. It's inconvenient to leave you alone on the island. I don't think you are like that sinister and treacherous person. If you really want to learn from your teacher, you will take you to Luofu Cave in Mount Amei tomorrow and introduce you to our 3 sisters' brothers. Would you like to? Yun Shao was already a kind-hearted person, and seeing Qingfeng's sincerity, he seemed to have a kind face and heart, but in fact, he also had the idea of accepting an apprentice in his heart. But when I thought about it, there were not only myself but also 2 younger sisters on San Xiao Island. After all, they were all women, so it was really inconvenient to keep him on the island. With the sound of Master 002, it is a lifelong bond between master and disciple. You are listening at Novel Full.Audio. San Xiao's elder brother. Zhao Gongming, the eldest disciple of the Jie Jiao outer sect. Su Qingfeng immediately thought of a black-faced man covered in scissors meat. To be honest, this senior brother from the external sect who intercepted the teachings has enough strength and magic weapons to accumulate energy. Unfortunately, his luck is not good, and he has become the most frustrated person to die among the gods. The secret plan of being crushed by the land and ultimately dying under the 7 arrows of Ding-Tu is truly heartbreaking. I implore the 3 fairies to accept their disciples. The disciples have been drifting across the sea for so many years and sincerely want to learn from their masters and cultivate themselves. I kindly ask the 3 fairies to show mercy and accept their disciples. Although Zhao Gongming is also very good, he definitely doesn't have the 3 heavens fragrance. Not to mention Zhao Gongming's notorious irritability, he already knew nothing about the path of cultivating immortals, so there must be plenty of places to seek advice from. And the 3 heavenly fairies are all women, and they are known for their kind hearts. Coupled with the softness and delicacy of women, I must have chosen 3 heavenly fairies first. Of course, the most important thing is, who would abandon these 3 beautiful women and become a master of a foot-picking man. Upon hearing these words, Yunxiao felt a bit unbearable in his heart. He turned to look at his 2 sisters, wanting to see what they meant. Being able to meet us is also fate. Big sister, why don't you accept him? As soon as Xiao finished speaking, Bai Xiao immediately interjected, yes, big sister, what second sister said is right. All of this is due to fate. Next to Yunxiao, the 2 fairies Xiao smiled helplessly upon hearing the words. Just Bixiao's little bit of caution, how can he hide it from the 2 sisters? Bixiao is naturally free-spirited and has a lot of fun to play with. Every once in a while, she would run out of San Xiao Island to play in the wilderness. Now that a stranger has finally arrived on the island and it looks good to her, how could she miss this opportunity? I pay my respects to the 3 beautiful masters. Wishing the 3 masters every day more beautiful and always young. Bai Xiao smiled first and said, you're quite clever. We haven't figured out who will take you as an apprentice yet. If you'd rather just call us 3 masters. Xiao followed closely and said, since you have joined my sect, you are the one who has followed me. We are disciples of saints, and there is only one rule. However, no matter what, you must not betray the sect. You must remember it. At the end of the clouds, I teach my disciples without much emphasis. A master's call is a lifelong bond between master and disciple. 3 more masters. Su Qingfeng spoke joyfully at the 3 heavenly fairy. Xiao shook her head helplessly upon seeing this, but she had never heard of anyone who worshipped the 3 masters. But their 3 sisters are always inseparable. It seems that it is good for them to teach one disciple. Tour, there is a thatched cottage I built on the Zhen mountain. You should stay there for now. Although San Xiao Island is very large, the place where San Xiao tidied up is not very large. In addition to the residence, there are also pavilions, medicine gardens, practice rooms, and finally, a small mountain hut called Jinshan Thatched Cottage. Ah, the 3 masters are very good in all aspects, maybe they don't have any experience. Lying in his own Jinshan Thatched Cottage, Su Qingfeng couldn't help but think. No matter what I say now, I have already become a disciple. Not to mention, I should also teach myself how to cultivate my magic weapon. How could there be someone like this who just stays here bored without anything? Hey, is this? Su Qingfeng suddenly seemed to have seen something, got up and walked forward, only to find it was an unknown bead. Su Qingfeng searched for memories in his mind, but there was never a single impression, no relevant memory about this object at all. Can you say that the 3 masters have already prepared themselves? That's right. This is the only explanation left. It's normal for them to not realize it when they send this bead over in their realm. But the question is, what exactly is this thing and how should it be used? As a seasoned internet enthusiast, I still have a certain understanding of the treasures in the wilderness. Regarding the magic treasures of beads, Qingfeng first thought of top-notch treasures such as chaos beads. But obviously, this is just his imagination. If these chaotic treasures were really in the hands of their master, how could they still encounter those tragic experiences? I'm afraid even if they don't become saints, they won't be so easy to be killed. Besides, there are 20.4 Dinghai pearls in Zhao Gongming's hand, who almost became his master. It is a renowned innate spiritual treasure, with 20.4 gathered together in powerful effects that evolve into the 20.4 heavens. Quickly passing through the information about Ding Haizhu in my mind, the next moment also denied the possibility of Ding Haizhu. Although the relationship between Master Sanxiao and Zhao Gongming is extraordinary, Zhao Gongming could not have been foolish enough to dismantle his Ding Haizhu and lend it to Master Sanxiao, could he? Looking at the unnamed pearl in his hand, Qingfeng couldn't figure it out for a moment. What the hell is this? Can it be an innate attribute spirit bead like earth, water, wind, fire, and thunder? But that's not right. At first glance, this bead looks ordinary and has no property fluctuations. It's impossible to be an acquired treasure like Honghuang, Kaitian, and Pity, right? Qingfeng guessed for a while, and finally felt that the most likely thing to think about was the unnamed pearl refined the day after tomorrow. After all, innate things are very rare, not like cabbage. How could one suddenly appear? In this dangerous world filled with danger levels, a powerful magic weapon is enough to enhance one's own strength by several levels, and the level of the magic weapon is also very simple and clear. Chaos Pearl is the treasure of chaos, born in chaos, and is currently the only complete treasure of chaos. Unfortunately, no one knows where it is. The remaining treasures of chaos are the Chaos Qinglian, the Heavenly Axe, and the Creation Jade Plate. When Pangu, the great god, opened the heavens, they were all shattered because they couldn't bear the power of opening the heavens. Going further down is the innate spiritual treasure. The innate spiritual treasure is a treasure that existed before the birth of the wasteland. Influenced by the great god Pangu, who opened heaven, it went from chaos outside the sky and was attracted to take root in the wasteland. Congenital Lingbao is divided into lower grade, medium grade, upper grade, and top grade, with the highest being the innate treasure. All innate spiritual treasures have the ability to grow, and the greater one's own magical power, the stronger the power of the spiritual treasure. And most importantly, the innate spiritual treasure can help to comprehend the Tao, support the three corpses, and block disasters and tribulations for oneself. The innate spiritual treasure is also the most coveted treasure in this vast world. The postnatal spiritual treasure is refined by individuals posthumously, and its strength is hard to say. Among them, the strongest one is like the heavenly turning seal, and the golden dragon scissor has a powerful power that is no less than that of an innate spiritual treasure. But because it is an acquired object and lacks innate and indestructible spiritual light, it is impossible to rely on the three corpses and comprehend the Tao. I will definitely teach him well and make him a good person. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Qingfeng was playing with the precious pearl in his hand, feeling a bit helpless in his heart. Isn't it that all travelers have golden fingers? How come there's nothing left when I get here? Isn't this a differential treatment? At this moment, the moonlight outside pierced into the eyes through the precious pearl in my hand. In the next moment, the radiance surged, and the precious pearl transformed into a golden light that shone straight into Qingfeng's eyebrows. A faint halo enveloped Qingfeng's entire body. In his mind, Qingfeng looked at the four big characters that appeared in front of him, with a puzzled expression on his face. Zhozhuan Xiankuan Ju, what operation is this? Waiting for oneself to discover. Qingfeng was a bit stunned. Is this the mainstream of the times? That's right. This must have been specially prepared by the three masters for themselves. I must not disappoint the beauty of the three masters, I must work hard to cultivate. Thinking of this, Qingfeng gratefully glanced at the residence of San Xiao Fairy and then focused his attention once again on his mind, starting to study. Before the Immortal, there were 4 levels of cultivation. Introducing Qi into the body, practicing Qi to transform the spirit, refining the spirit to return to emptiness, and realizing the combination of emptiness and Tao. After achieving the unity of essence, energy, and spirit in the realm of harmony, and achieving enlightenment, it becomes the realm of Immortals. After entering the Immortal realm, become a human immortal, break free from the mortal body, condense the immortal body, and transform into a new life. Above human immortals lies earth immortals, whose spiritual consciousness undergoes transformation and transforms into immortal consciousness. After the earth immortal, there is the heavenly immortal, which combines spirit and flesh, and is cast into an immaculate immortal body. After the heavenly immortal comes the Xian immortal, refine the immortal body, and prepare to absorb the power of the law. After Xian comes Jingxian, who begins to be exposed to the power of laws and enjoys endless longevity. After the golden immortal, there is the Tai golden immortal, who gathers the 5 qi in his chest and begins to follow his own path. After Tai Jin Xian, there is the Luo Jin Xian, who jumps out of the 3 realms and is not in the 5 elements. He is known as the Luo Jin Xian. After the Luo Jin Xian, he became a quasi-saint, using his innate spiritual treasure to slay 3 corpses and wield the power of laws. After becoming a quasi-saint, one becomes a saint, immortal and immortal, enjoying a refreshing breeze. Qingfeng regained his chaotic thoughts, restrained his mind, and in the next moment, the techniques on the 9-turn Qianquan technique appeared in his mind. After all, this is my first time practicing, and I must be diligent and cautious. Is this what it means to practice? After about a quarter of an hour, Qingfeng opened his eyes with an incredulous expression on his face. Carefully feel the spiritual energy inside your body, it is indeed not your own illusion. The body really produces spiritual energy. Anyway, since we succeeded, let's continue. Qingfeng wanted to take a look, perhaps because it was too easy to induce qi into the body, so he continued to practice. San Xiao's residents, Yunxiao, Qiongxiao, and Bixiao sat facing each other, discussing how to teach Qingfeng. After all, this is also their first time accepting apprentices. Although the 3 of them have a high level of cultivation, it does not necessarily mean that they can treat their apprentices better. Therefore, we still need to discuss it. Second sister, Qingfeng has not yet set foot on the path of immortality and has high plasticity. Do you think you can use herbs to help him refine his body and open up acupoints and veins around his body? Qiongxiao nodded and smiled at the words, "Sister, don't worry. I'll find some spiritual herbs suitable for the cool breeze in the medicine garden, and I'll temper his body tomorrow." Upon hearing this, Yunxiao nodded with satisfaction, feeling inferior to her younger sister's cultivation in medicine refining. Then, she looked at the third sister, Bixiao, beside her. "San Mei, you will be teaching the Qingfeng sword technique in the future. What do you think?" "Alright, no problem." Bixiao, who had no outsiders around, appeared unusually lively at the moment. "I will definitely teach him well and make him a master of swordsmanship." Yunxiao and Qiongxiao couldn't help but laugh at the words. They couldn't help but wonder about their sister's personality and her playful nature. When she was a believer, she didn't know if she taught more or played more. The next step is to confirm the cultivation method and magic weapon. Do the 2 sisters have any good ideas? "Sister, the martial arts we cultivate are similar and not suitable for Qingfeng cultivation. Why don't we go find Brother Gongming? Brother Gongming and Qingfeng are both innate human beings, and his martial arts Qingfeng must be extremely compatible. As for the treasures, let's go find senior brother Duobao. He has many treasures, so it won't be difficult to obtain a spiritual treasure from the day after tomorrow for Qingfeng's self-defense. Okay, let's do as the 2 sisters said. The master will preach again at a decisive time and take him back to the island. First, visit his fellow disciples, second, seek cultivation techniques, and third, ask for a magic weapon. It's best to get the master's approval then. After thinking about the words of the two sisters, Yun Xiao immediately made a decision. The next day. San Xiao Island, on Zhen Mountain. Su Qingfeng sat cross-legged on a huge stone, facing the sunrise and welcoming the old and new. The sunlight shining on Su Qingfeng's tender face made him feel very comfortable. Embrace the sunrise and absorb the spiritual energy of heaven and earth for cultivation. At this moment, Su Qingfeng's body emits powerful spiritual waves, affecting the spiritual power of the surrounding heaven and earth. The spiritual power of heaven and earth condenses into a vortex around Su Qingfeng, injecting into his body. Su Qingfeng's cultivation seems to have no bottleneck. Sing and step into the third realm, refining the spirit and returning to the void. The spiritual vortex in mid-air did not stop with Su Qingfeng's breakthrough, but instead showed signs of escalating strength. How could such a big commotion deceive the Three Heavenly Fairy? That's the cool breeze. How did he cultivate his martial arts? Didn't he know nothing yesterday? Why did he break through to the point of becoming a god in just one night? San Xiao was amazed. And what shocked them even more was still ahead. I saw the spiritual vortex expanding at a visible speed, and Su Qingfeng's cultivation also took it to the next level. On a boulder. Su Qingfeng's eyes closed tightly, like a bottomless pit, endlessly absorbing the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, and incorporating it into his own body. He only feels now that it's not enough, far from enough, the spiritual energy of heaven and earth that is incorporated into his body is still too thin. He felt that as long as his spiritual power was sufficient, he could continue to break through, and even become an immortal on the ground, which was not impossible. Yun Xiao sensed Su Qingfeng's condition, waved his hand, and a small spiritual gathering array was set up near Su Qingfeng. In the next moment, the spiritual energy of the entire Three Immortals island and its surrounding heaven and earth surged wildly. Sister, what kind of martial arts is Qingfeng practicing? How could there be such a big commotion? Bixiao was a bit surprised at the moment. In just one night, she went from a novice to a deity, which was truly unbelievable. What technique? Yun Xiao paused for a moment before continuing to speak. His technique is no different from ours. One thing is the same. Xiongxiao and Bixiao were a bit stunned after listening to these 4 words. They were 3 auspicious clouds that were born at the beginning of the creation of heaven and earth. The martial arts they practiced were not entirely taught by their master Tongtian, but integrated their own insights into the Tao and walked their own path. When did 004 become an immortal calamity that could cause such? You are listening at Novel Full.Audio. The human race is not a naturally born creature, so there is no inheritance of the Tao, and their lifespan is very short. Only one thing is that the human race is born as an innate Tao body, which coincides with the Tao. Among them, there are those with outstanding talents who suddenly realize transcendence and the Great Way technique, and can soar into the sky and become immortals on the ground. It's just that this situation is very rare. The entire primordial human race in the wilderness has a giant of 1 yuan, capable of standing on the ground and becoming immortal no more than 1 hand. We really found a treasure this time. San Xiao looked at each other and couldn't help but feel the joy surging in his heart. With the increasing fluctuation of Su Qingfeng's spiritual power around him, under the protection of the 3 heavens, Su Qingfeng's cultivation quickly broke through to the last realm before the immortal. Realizing emptiness and combining the Tao. By dusk, it had already triggered the thunder calamity of heaven and earth, and began to cross the calamity. The majestic aura of Lei Jie envelopes the entire San Xiao island. At this moment, San Xiao was really surprised. They have been practicing for countless years, and they have seen countless extraordinary talents. However, They have never seen someone like Su Qingfeng who entered the stage of Qi cultivation and became an immortal at the end of his life. It's simply a myth. Bang! In the next moment, the world was in turmoil, and a dazzling beam of thunder erupted on the Zhen mountain, breaking through the somewhat dim dusk. When could the immortal robbery cause such a big commotion? Looking at the brewing clouds in the sky, Bixiao couldn't help feeling even more shocked. Heavenly Calamity is a test imposed by the Heavenly Tao on cultivators who go against the sky. All things in heaven and earth need balance to develop healthily, but cultivators have the powerful power to disrupt balance, so it is equivalent to going against the sky. If the cultivator can overcome the Heavenly Calamity, then they can gain recognition from the Heavenly Tao, and after overcoming the calamity, they will also receive the Heavenly Tao's divine light to transform their immortal body. But if the cultivator has not overcome the Heavenly Calamity, then there is nothing to say. They will directly destroy their form and spirit, and even have no chance of reincarnation and recultivation. One by one, more and more calamity clouds merged into a ball, and finally gathered over most of the three Immortals' island. And as San Xiao and his companions watched the expanding Jieyun, they had to distance themselves and retreat all the way beyond the coverage range of Jieyun. Heavenly Calamity is a test of the Heavenly Tao on cultivators. If there are other people within the range of thunder calamity, the Heavenly Tao will descend a stronger thunder. Standing outside the coverage area of the cloud of calamity, San Xiao looked at the grand thunder calamity and began to worry for Su Qingfeng in his heart. They had also experienced the immortal journey before, and according to the cloud of tribulation gathered on the three Immortals' island at this moment, it is obvious that it has surpassed the 3 or 9 heavenly journey, feeling even greater than the 6 or 9 heavenly journey when they became immortals. The cultivation of immortals can be divided into 3 types of tribulations. The 39 heavenly calamity, the 69 heavenly calamity, and the 99 heavenly calamity. Although the difference between the 3-9 heavenly robbery, the 6-9 heavenly robbery, and the 9-9 heavenly robbery may not sound significant, they are vastly different. Because the power of each thunderbolt is twice that of the previous thunderbolt, and its power increases in sequence. Each level has an additional 27 thunderbolts, which is not an ordinary difference for the crossing robber. Looking at the cloud of calamity in the sky, San Xiao's heart became heavier and heavier. However, now that the cloud of calamity has become a foregone conclusion, there is no way to stop it. They can only pray that this calamity cloud is the 3-9th heavenly calamity, not the 6-9th heavenly calamity, let alone the legendary 9-9th heavenly calamity, because only then can Su Qingfeng successfully overcome it. The cloud of calamity in the sky is churning, nurturing the first ray of calamity thunder, flickering from time to time in the cloud of calamity. At the same time, a destructive pressure emanates from the cloud of calamity, rushing towards the nearby area. And on the distant sea, a figure suddenly appeared, but they all knew whose territory was ahead, so they didn't approach. San Xiao only glanced at them and found that they were all scattered immortals from the East China Sea. He probably sensed the aura of the heavenly calamity and came out to observe. At this moment, directly below the Jieyun, Su Qingfeng was still silent in the mystery of the 9 transformations Qiankuan Ju, unaware of what had happened outside. The 9 transformations Qiankuan technique, as the name suggests, is divided into 9 levels. Although each level requires a very large amount of heaven and earth energy, after cultivation, the physical body will become extremely powerful and also possess supreme divine powers. As for how powerful the physical body is and how powerful the divine powers are, Su Qingfeng still has no way to experiment, because now he has completely immersed himself in the realm improvement. Oh my medicine garden. I noticed the sudden surge of spiritual energy in the surrounding world, and the visible river of spiritual power flooded into the Jieyun. Xiong Zhao's face turned black in an instant and he said, "This little bastard." On the side of the clouds, Bixiao looked at each other and smiled, feeling a hint of sadness in her heart for Su Qingfeng's encounter behind her. But the top priority now depends on whether he can successfully overcome the calamity. With the majestic energy support of the medicine garden, Su Qingfeng's thunder calamity quickly formed, with overwhelming dark clouds covering the sky, spreading far and wide. Thunder roared like a dragon, roaring one after another. Surprisingly, it's the 9 heavenly calamities. Who has such a heel? The trajectory of fate is also unpredictable, and the sky is chaotic. It's really strange. In a palace outside the chaotic sky, the 3 big characters, Xiao Palace, are simply hanging at the entrance. Just being filled with the charm of the Great Way, even the great Luo Golden Immortal would be immersed in it and unable to extricate himself. At this moment, in the Dao Palace, an ordinary old man sat cross-legged on a futon. The next moment, he suddenly opened his eyes, his gaze crossing endless time and space, and landed on the 3 Immortals Island. At this moment, Jiayin takes the Zhen Mountain where Su Qingfeng is located as the center, forming a terrifying apocalyptic scene that completely devours the remaining light of the dusk, making the sky completely dim. Boom! Thunder exploded, and in the next moment, a thick thunderbolt pierced through the sky, like a green dragon emerging from the water, landing with a loud bang. Is this the first thunderbolt? At this moment, whether it was San Xiao or those overseas casual cultivators, watching the thunderous roar that was as thick as a bucket, they instinctively took a few steps back. Looking back on the heavenly calamity when I crossed the calamity and became an immortal, compared to now, it was like a bright moon and fireflies. Pai Li Pa. The thunder fell on the Zhen Mountain, sparking scattered sparks, and then spread and circulated on Su Qingfeng. The blink of an eye's effort dissipates invisibly. It's great. At this moment, Su Qingfeng is feeling worried about the enormous energy needed to break through the first layer of the 9 transformations Qingfeng technique. When I was dozing off, I came with a pillow. The orifices of the whole body seem to have not eaten for hundreds of years, and the firepower is fully activated to absorb the energy contained in the sky thunder. 005 Fart Who is also considered Who, and human immortals are also considered immortals. You are listening at Novel Full.Audio. The pure energy absorbed into Su Qingfeng's body was not immediately refined into magic, but rather refined into Su Qingfeng's body, circulating repeatedly throughout his body, and then making his acupoints and orifices more stable. After the second reddish-orange sky thunder was absorbed by Su Qingfeng, his acupoints and orifices had completely stabilized. It was only then that the pure energy of the third reddish-yellow sky thunder flowed through the Venus Vision Sea and directly became the energy required for the 9 transformations Qingfeng technique. The energy required for each layer of the 9 transformations Qingfeng technique is extremely terrifying. Su Qingfeng's acupoints and orifices have been opened up, and the speed at which he absorbs the spiritual power of heaven and earth has become very fast. Originally, the first 2 lightning strikes took some time, but when the 3rd and 4th strikes fell, they were almost quickly absorbed by Su Qingfeng and then converted into pure energy. The energy carried by these thunderbolts is the purest energy in the world. Su Qingfeng boldly absorbs it and is not afraid of any impurities. The first turn of the 9 transformations of Xiangong only requires this huge amount of energy, nor does it require any insights. It only requires continuous accumulation on its own. As long as the energy in its body reaches a certain level, it can naturally break through. Su Qingfeng also understood this truth, so he directly exerted all his strength to stimulate the acupoints and orifices around his body to absorb the purest energy in the world. Immersed himself completely in absorbing the energy of heaven and earth, Su Qingfeng felt an ethereal state in his heart. After such a state, he didn't know how long it would take. Su Qingfeng noticed that his body began to swell, as if he had reached the maximum energy range that the 9 transformations Qingfeng technique could withstand in one turn. And just as Su Qingfeng was immersed in absorbing the energy of heaven and earth, the 3 skies on the sea and many overseas immortal families had completely become numb. How many people have truly seen that barrel like crimson thunder? How many people have seen the crimson blue thunder as big as a grinding wheel? When you are still racking your brains to constantly suppress the arrival of thunder calamity and preparing with all your might, they just need to sit there peacefully. When you cross the tribulation, you wish you had emptied your family. When various talismans, magical treasures, and immortal magical powers are thrown out without money, they don't even lift their eyelids. The ninth calamity is about to take shape. I don't know who was reminding me at this moment, and everyone immediately looked towards the gathering place of the cloud on the island. Then everyone couldn't help but take a breath of cold air. In just a moment, the ninth thunderbolt had already fully charged up, and the crimson-purple thunder was mixed with a hint of black, which was the power of silence and also the power of death and destruction. Purple thunder came directly from the sky, carrying the terrifying heavenly power to destroy everything without leaving any vitality. With a click. This thunder with the power of black silence accurately landed on Su Qingfeng, the nine-colored divine light of Jingpan, and then the two intersected and collided again. Cracks kept appearing like spider webs, leaving people speechless. However, at the moment when their bodies exploded, the nine-colored divine light in their bodies shone brightly, and the first layer of the nine-turning Qianquan technique successfully entered the second layer. Finally, I have completed one revolution. When the heavenly calamity passed, golden beams of light instantly broke through the dark clouds, and the clouds that covered the sky and sun quickly dissipated like ice and snow. This is the divine light of creation that descended from the heavens after the heavenly calamity. Under the cover of this ray of light, Su Qingfeng's body was repaired at a visible speed to the naked eye, and soon returned to its original state. Starting today, Su Qingfeng officially steps into the path of immortality. Although Su Qingfeng is still at the lowest level of the human immortal realm, even the fart who can be considered a hu, and the human immortal can also be considered an immortal. Within a day, one can directly break through the mortal realm and become an immortal, and this kind of idealistic duze is also self-evident. But when I see three figures passing by in the sky not far away, Su Qingfeng suddenly woke up. In the current wasteland where the golden immortal walks everywhere, even the big Luo is not as good as the dog. What can one count as someone who has just entered the immortal realm? Obviously nothing. I'm afraid it's just a little stronger than ants, so let's just honestly practice with our master at home. Three masters. Su Qingfeng's mind moved and he took a step out, then bowed and knelt before the three masters. At this moment, San Xiao was also puzzled by the sudden gift from his disciple, saying, "Did something happen to me?" Su Qingfeng shook his head, and the corners of his eyes were filled with moisture, tears of emotion. If it weren't for the master passing on his own magic weapon, how could he comprehend the Tao within it? If it weren't for the master passing on his own techniques, how could he have stepped into the realm of immortals? If it weren't for the master guarding the Dharma, how could one have successfully overcome it? Su Qingfeng felt that his choice was right for the first time. The three masters are really warm and considerate. Well, my good disciple is fine. I dare not be so reckless in the future. Yun Xiao walked up to Su Qingfeng, finally feeling relieved in his heart. The disciple found out and worried the master. Su Qingfeng bowed and looked at Master Yunxiao's anxious expression between his eyebrows, feeling that Master Yunxiao was really good to him. If I go back later and find that my pharmacy has been destroyed by you, then you can wait to plant you underground. At this moment, the second Master Qiong Xiao walked up and looked at Su Qingfeng with great anger, threatening him. Ah! Su Qingfeng awkwardly touched the back of his head, realizing that the medicine garden was so close to Jin Mountain that it had probably become the nourishment for Jie Yun and had already been absorbed by himself. Jie is joking with you. Her broken medicinal herbs are actually for people to use. If you can break through the immortal realm in one step now, it is the best reward for these herbs, so keep going. Little Master Bixiao also slowly walked up after the two masters left, lightly patted Su Qingfeng's shoulder, and then spoke up to encourage him. More masters remind disciples to understand, and they will definitely not disappoint the master's high expectations. Su Qingfeng also smiled, feeling the frustration and awkwardness of what second master had just said swept away, and now it was replaced by joy. Well, you have just taken a step forward and become an immortal. If you go back, take a good breath and remember not to be radical. Be careful of this unstable foundation. After speaking, Bixiao went straight to the two sisters in front and chased after them, and then returned to San Xiao Island together. After watching the three masters return to the room, Qingfeng turned around with a bitter expression and looked at the bare area next to him, where there was still the shadow of a thatched cottage. There was no other way but to make a new one, but fortunately it was not difficult to do. As night fell, Qingfeng finally built his own nest. 006 is the era of saints here, and saints produce. You are listening at Novel Full.Audio. A few more days passed. Qingfeng listened to his master's words and solidified his foundation on this Shen mountain, never leaving a single step. Until today, his master summoned Qingfeng to leave Shen mountain and then to the place where he practiced meditation, but he saw three masters sitting upright on the cloud bed. Disciple Qingfeng pays his respects to the master. Qingfeng joyfully bowed on the prepared cattail. Qingfeng, from now on, I will start teaching you the Xianmen Taoist method. However, this ugly saying is ahead of me. After you learn my skills, I will not ask you to benefit one side, but you must not harm the world. Yun Xiao continued with a solemn expression, if I were to let you know that you are using your skills to commit crimes and harm the world, then don't blame me for clearing the door. Qingfeng's expression changed, and then he bowed and said, I will definitely remember my master's teachings and never forget them for eternity. Seeing this, Yun Xiao nodded and took out an object from the nearby jade slip, saying, this heavenly book was passed down by my master, explaining the great way to the slip. Now, take it to study, but remember to keep it safe. After saying a stream of light, Qingfeng quickly picked it up with both hands. In this era of saints, what saints produce must be exquisite. Even if it's just a drop of shit pulled by a saint, it must be extraordinary. Of course, as for whether those saints will defecate or not, he is not sure, but he knows that now that he has this thing in his hands, it must be a good thing. Thank you, Master, for spreading the message. Qingfeng happily spoke to Master Yun Xiao. Originally, you destroyed my pharmacy. I should have taken you directly to repair the pharmacy for me, but as a master, the ceremony of worshipping a master cannot be abolished. As a master, this robe is inviolable, and I will send it to you. Speaking, Qiong Xiao took out a moon-white Taoist robe and looked at Qingfeng with a sigh in his heart. Thank you for passing on the treasure, Master. I will definitely rebuild a bigger medicine garden for Master in the coming day. Qingfeng sincerely thanked him, saying that this time he was able to enter the immortal realm. His second master suffered the greatest loss, and the entire immortal family pharmacy was gone. Is it true that he didn't feel heartbroken? Seeing that both of her sisters had already taken action, Master Bixiao would definitely not be stingy. She reached out and pinched a sword finger, and an ancient sword flew from afar. This ancient sword had a gorgeous shape, with a slightly long and emitting a faint blue color, and a slightly short purple hilt. This sword is called Jueyun Treasure Sword. It is made of ancient celestial stone, refined steel and quenched with the essence of the sun and the moon. It cuts iron like mud and is extremely sharp. Seeing his sister take out this sword, both Yun Xiao and Bixiao were somewhat surprised. This sword is definitely extraordinary and powerful. It is one of the 7 ferocious swords crafted by Mo Zoluo Throat using forbidden techniques and the soul power of countless gods, demons, humans, beasts, and witches back then. Although this sword belongs to the acquired world, its power is not inferior to that of an innate treasure. But I didn't expect her to gift such a precious treasure to Qingfeng today. This sword is where the distinction between good and evil comes from. The so-called Immortal Sword and Ferocious Sword are both given different attributes by different people, so I hope you can use this sword to create your own sword path. Looking at his sister, who had never been serious, Yun Xiao couldn't help but feel delighted that she could say such a thing at this moment. I will definitely follow my master's orders and walk out of the path that belongs to me. Su Qingfeng stood up cautiously and personally reached out to take the Jueyun sword with both hands. Starting from today, Su Qingfeng finally ushered in a dark and boundless cultivation. Every morning, I practice and form with my master. In the afternoon, I learn divine powers, techniques, pharmacology, and spirits with my second master Qiong Xiao. In the evening, I learn swordsmanship and martial arts under the guidance of my third master, Bai Xiao. In this way, spring passed and autumn came, and in a blink of an eye, 10 years passed. During this period, Su Qingfeng also overcame all obstacles and exceeded the cultivation arranged by his three masters. In his leisure time, he also read the books on the island. Until today, Master Sanxiao received a message from his ancestor Tongtian that he was summoning disciples from the Jie Jiao sect to go to Jie Jiao Island together to teach Taoism. As a newly recruited disciple of the Three Xiao Empress, Su Qingfeng has not yet visited his fellow disciples. This opportunity for the sage to preach must not be missed. Jie Jiao Island in the East China Sea. This is the place of saints, and the vast sanctuary is faintly visible. In the holy realm, auspiciousness envelopes, and a huge and incomparable golden dragon hovers above, with its scales and claws almost lifelike and solid. There is a verdant palace in the center that flows with infinite radiance, standing on a mountain top. Everything seems like a mirage. Su Qingfeng landed on the island behind the three masters. Immediately, a disciple from the sect will come forward to salute. One of the people was dressed in a big red robe, with a face as blue as indigo hair and cinnabar, and huge fangs and 3 round eyes. They walked up and saluted, saying, "The cultivation of the 3 senior sisters has become more and more exquisite, making junior brothers feel inferior. I heard that junior brother LV is currently developing a formation, and I think it should have some effectiveness." Yun Xiao smiled faintly as the 2 masters next to him also saluted at the same time. Shame and shame, in front of senior sister, how dare junior brother talk about the formation. The LV Dao Yu across from him awkwardly smiled and said, "I don't know who this little friend is." Dissatisfied with younger martial brother LV, he is our sister's new disciple. I will ask you to take care of him in the future. After saying that, he called Su Qingfeng to introduce him. "Qingfeng, this is Martial Uncle Feilu from Kowloon Island. Come and meet Martial Uncle. Luu. Isn't this the plague god? Harvesting millions of creatures with a wave of your hand is truly a divine feat." Finally, he died under the 5 fires and 7 birds fan of Yangren, a disciple of the 3rd generation of Chan Buddhism. Endless sorrow for the ending. Disciple Su Qingfeng, have you met Master Uncle? Su Qingfeng approached respectfully and saluted. Well, not bad, not bad. Senior uncle came out in a hurry this time and didn't bring any treasures. This plague pill will be gifted to his nephew, he said, taking out a small porcelain bottle from his sleeve and handing it over. Wen Dan. Is it the poison that harms 100,000 soldiers and civilians in Shiqi City? Su Qingfeng carefully collected the pills, afraid of accidentally breaking them and turning Jie Jiao Island into a plague island. Of course, this is just thinking. Not to mention the existence of saints on Jie Jiao Island, let alone the fact that there are many second-generation disciples of Jie Jiao who are stronger than Lvu. It is almost effortless to deal with a small poison pill. Continuing forward, a pair of senior brothers approached to greet Su Qingfeng. The older brother wore a fish-tail golden crown on his head, with a face like a heavy jujube, red beard and hair under the sea, 3 eyes on his head, and wore a big red gossip robe, leaving a deep impression on Su Qingfeng. As for my younger brother, he didn't receive too much attention. Huolong Island Luo Xian, Lu Huan has met 2 senior sisters, Luo Xian. Having the ability of 3 heads and 6 arms, possessing vast divine powers, colleagues possess 5 fire magic treasures, proficient in fire magic, and invincible in group attacks like LVU. 3 Immortal Island Clouds, Xiao, Bixiao, along with disciple Su Qingfeng, have met Brother Luo. From Master Sanxiao's attitude towards this person, it can be inferred that Luo Xian is domineering. 007 doesn't mean that all the disciples who cut off teaching are inherently cruel. You are listening at Novel Full.Audio. I didn't expect even you guys to be taken in. Junior brother, I haven't covered my heat with this fire spirit pearl yet. Let's give it to my nephew as a welcome gift. After separating from Luo Xian from Honghuang Island, Su Qingfeng met the largest group of martial arts experts, the 10 Heavenly Kings of Jinao Island, who were in charge of the 10 Ju formation. After a few people had a cold cicada fight, the 10 Taoist priests couldn't pull out a treasure in the end. They only gave Su Qingfeng a heavenly book called 100 Solutions to Formation, for him to understand the way of formation. After the 10 Heavenly Kings, they welcomed the 2 female immortals who had come to the 3 Immortals Island and the sisters Hanji Immortal and Kaiyun Immortal. Meeting friends was particularly friendly. After greeting the 2 senior uncles, we walked towards the inner door together. Not long after, they saw a large group of people surrounding a black-faced man. Even the 3 masters came forward to salute and said, "Brother." So this person is Zhao Gongming, the eldest disciple of the Jie Jiao outer sect. The cultivation of the 3 girls is becoming increasingly advanced now, and I think they are all going to surpass my older brother. Zhao Gongming joked with a smile. And those immortal friends surrounding Zhao Gongming all bowed and said, "I've seen 3 senior sisters." At this time, Jie Jiao was divided into inner and outer sections. As for the inner sect, there were only 4 personally transmitted disciples and 7 attendant disciples, with a very small number of people. The main reason why Jie Jiao was called the 10,000 Immortals Coming Tide, was because there were many disciples from the outer sect, even if not 10,000, there were 8,000. And all the disciples from outside also respect Zhao Gongming as their senior brother and San Xiao as their senior sister. "I've seen all of you Taoist friends." Upon hearing this, San Xiao bowed to the immortal families at the same time before turning to look at Zhao Gongming beside him and saying, "Senior brother's cultivation has also improved a lot." "Haha, that's right. After the master preaches this time, the 3 younger sisters will go to Ame Mountain with me to have fun for 2 days. Zhao Gongming laughed upon hearing this. Zhao Gongming practiced in Luofu Cave on Mount Ame. "Thank you for the invitation, older brother. But today is different from before. The 3 younger sisters have just received a new disciple today and still need education, so they dare not delay it." Yun Xiao smiled faintly and declined with a pleading voice. "Apprentice. Why do the 3 sisters want to take in apprentices?" Zhao Gongming looked at Su Qingfeng behind him with some confusion and said. "On a whim." Yun Xiao smiled and turned apologetically to look at Su Qingfeng, hoping he wouldn't mind. "Sister, you're in high spirits," Zhao Gongming joked and looked at Su Qingfeng beside him. "Come, call me Shibua." "Hello Shibua." Su Qingfeng greeted me very seriously. Although this person's strength may not necessarily be the opponent of Master Honghuang Jinda Yun Xiao, it is still stronger than Master Xiao and Master Bixiao. "Good nephew, I will learn from your master in the future. I am giving you this Shangyun Dan as a gift. I hope you can break through soon." Shangyun Pill. This is a miraculous pill that can break through the golden immortal. I had the privilege of hearing from my second master Qiong Xiao about the beauty of this pill before. "Thank you, senior uncle. My nephew will definitely practice well and break through as soon as possible." He carefully took the Shangyun pill, which has a strong medicinal power. Just taking a sip can make him feel the growth of spiritual power in his body. Master Sanxiao and Master Zhao Gongming haven't seen each other for a long time. Su Qingfeng cleverly explained to the master and then infiltrated the vast number of external disciples. Here, he saw the future Fengshen Pengjubiao Star Lord. I saw the 28 knights in the Heavenly Court. There are still 108 days of Gandhi Shah. There are still many things he hasn't heard of. Just as Su Qingfeng was shuttling through the crowds of various martial uncles and uncles, a yellow light and shadow caught his eye. Su Qingfeng chased after him, but in the blink of an eye, he disappeared. Looking around again, I finally saw a woman wearing a big hat and a golden flowing skirt in a seemingly dark corner. Disciple Su Qingfeng, have you met Senior Uncle? When leaving San Xiao Island, the three masters once told him that he was the only disciple of the third generation of Jie Jiao and also the chief disciple of the third generation. Everyone on the island is a senior uncle. In short, the current generation of cut-off teachers is the lowest. Sigh, the woman sighed and said, have you been found? I know you, Sister Sanxiao's new disciple. I don't have anything for you. Su Qingfeng smiled wryly. Truly, there is a light of 10,000 immortals coming to the sect, but the disciples under the sect are diverse and varied. Some are as rich as oil, like the senior brother Zhao Gongming, who has several spiritual treasures to protect himself, while the poor are like the 10 heavenly kings. 10 people cannot come up with a single one. Obviously, the martial uncle in front of me belongs to the latter. Suddenly, the island was filled with a strong aroma, with strings playing in unison. This is Master back. Su Qingfeng's senior uncle reminded him. Master. Is it the legendary sage of heaven and earth? Master Tongtian. Ancestor immeasurable, knowing that the master had returned from the Dharma drive, the disciples on the island consecutively bowed and welcomed him one after another. Before long, the horizon returned to its former glory, with a loud rumbling sound and a heavy gate slowly opening, revealing the true golden Ao island. The once bustling island suddenly fell silent. But at the door, a group of 11 people, including a man and a woman, stood straight behind the door, almost bowing at the same time. Master, come back, please. All Taoist friends enter the island. Their voices were not particularly loud, but they used some kind of magical means to spread their voices throughout the island. The disciples outside the island, led by Zhao Gongming, bowed and said, thank you, senior brother, for opening the door. Is this intercepting teaching? Su Qingfeng looked at the scene in front of him with some surprise. Isn't it true that all the disciples who cut off teachings are inherently cruel, bloodthirsty, and skilled in killing? How could this be the current scene of mutual respect and harmony? These are the 4 disciples of the Master's inner sect and the 7 accompanying immortals. Walking in the crowd, senior uncle reminded me. Su Qingfeng nodded, these 11 people may be the true disciples of Tongtian. Entering the sacred realm, ancient trees towering in the sky, silver waterfalls swirling in the mountains, rainbows hanging high in the sky, yellow cranes lined up, and green phoenixes flapping their wings. Hidden auspicious beasts in the mountains, qilin nests on the cliffs. The misty clouds condense the auspicious mist, and the sun and moon emit auspicious light. Su Qingfeng couldn't help but stare blankly. It was only after being reminded by the nearby martial uncle that he regained his senses. Qingfeng, why are you still here? Your master is so anxious. Suddenly, the colorful cloud fairy rushed out from the side and came to Su Qingfeng's side. Sister Kaiyun. Are you? The fairy Kaiyun looked at the woman in front of her with some confusion and asked. It may be a big deal not to recognize fellow disciples in other sects, but it is normal to be in seclusion, especially for disciples from outside sects who come from all corners of the world, mountains and mountains. Apart from being summoned by the sect leader, they are not usually able to meet, so naturally they cannot be called names. I have seen Sister Kaiyun in the scattered by Jingshui on the Iron Turtle Island. White purified water. One of the 8 heavenly kings of the future. And you're not one of the people on the list of gods. What kind of treasure is there on this person that blocks the heavenly machine? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Master Jingshui has summoned me to visit my home if there is another day. Seeing Kaiyun Immortal feeling a bit embarrassed, Su Qingfeng spoke up to ease her feelings. Then hurry up and come back to play another day. After bidding farewell to Master by Jingshui, Su Qingfeng followed Kaiyun Xian all the way forward, and his speed not only increased a bit faster than before. Master, don't you know what Master called me for? Kaiyun Xian said, this is your first time coming to the island today. You must be visiting the inner sect senior brother. If you have the opportunity, you can also meet with the Master. So it's like this, he was very happy to see his inner sect senior brother, but seeing the sect leader connect with the heavens, his heart couldn't help but feel a bit empty. After all, that is the sage of heaven and earth. What is there in this desolate world that he doesn't know? If you see something about yourself, then you'll have fun, right? Su Qingfeng followed the colorful cloud fairy all the way to the position closest to the azure palace ahead. Master Sanxiao is currently chatting with 3 female immortals, and one of them is accompanied by 2 teenagers aged 17 or 18. Seeing the colorful cloud fairy and Su Qingfeng coming over, Master Bixiao waved his hands repeatedly and Su Qingfeng immediately understood, then walked forward. Then Master Yun Xiao spoke up and introduced him, my disciple, this is your Golden Spirit Master, Wudang Master, and Turtle Spirit Master. Su Qingfeng nodded and followed the introduction of Master Yun Xiao, greeting everyone one by one. You should know that these are important figures in teaching. You look pretty good as an apprentice. You have already entered the path of immortality at a young age, and this future is promising, praised the Holy Mother of Jinling on the side. Master praised me highly, and I feel ashamed and unworthy of it. These 3 are all the personal disciples of the sect leader. They not only have noble identities, but their strength, cultivation and magical powers are also equally powerful. My nephew came to Bio Palace for the first time today, and I don't have any gift to give as a gift. After the master finishes preaching, I will take you to the Bio Palace to have a look at the books. As for what kind of fortune you can have, it's up to you, my nephew, said the nearby Wudang Holy Mother. Book collection. Su Qingfeng's gaze flickered as he realized that the books in the Bio Palace collection were treasures of the Bio Palace lineage, including various secret techniques, supernatural powers, and Taoist techniques. This is also the foundation of a religion, which shows how much the leader of the Tongtian sect values the Virgin Mary of Wudang. When she is enthroned as a deity and when the church building is about to collapse, let her leave with a sense of vitality. More senior uncles. Su Qingfeng's heart moved and he bent down to bow down. This meeting gift is so important, it is far more important than the magical powers of other martial uncles and uncles. Dong! 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 At this moment, a big bell rang on the Bio Palace. Whether it was Master Sanxiao, the 3 saints, or Zhao Gongming and the Taoist Duo Bao who were just a little ahead, they all knelt down one after another. Su Qingfeng, who knew he was no exception, followed suit. Congratulations to the sect leader. The sound of ringing bells spread throughout the entire Golden Ao Island. Exempt, a sound that was not like a human voice, but sounded in Su Qingfeng's ear as if it came from chaos. I secretly lifted my head, opened my eyes, and found that the palace was still tightly closed without any change. Suddenly, the palace gate opened wide, and the figures of Duo Bao, Wu Dang, Jin Ling, Gue Ling, Zhao Gongming, and 8 other figures shot out from the sky and disappeared into it all at once. No matter how Su Qingfeng looks, he cannot see through the auspicious cloud at the entrance of the palace and see the scenery inside the Qingbi Palace. Stingy. Look what's going on. Su Qingfeng couldn't help but mutter. Are you a disciple of that family, so ignorant of the rules? Beside Su Qingfeng, a pair of big-eared Taoists turned his head and glared fiercely at him. Just now, Master Sanxiao only focused on introducing 3 senior uncles to him, and there were many people who didn't have time to introduce them, just like the 7 people in front of him. But those who can rank in this position, and still make their debut in a group of 7, then apart from the 7 fairies, there are only the 7 Dragon Balls left. Obviously, none of them are left. The only 7 attendants left are the 7 Immortals of the Tongtian sect, also known as the Attendant 7 Immortals. The big-eared immortal in front of me is probably the long-eared Dingguang immortal, who betrayed the sect with the trust of the heavenly sect leader during the God-Sealing War. Look, it's not illegal. Qingfeng knew that it was not beneficial for him or his master to have a conflict with the Attendant 7 Immortals here. He just muttered and jotted down this moment today, waiting for the cause and effect to be resolved in the future. Ha! Is there any treasure on this sun that can block the heavenly machine? Why can't you see the origin of this sun? It's really strange. Inside the Bio Palace, the leader of the Tongtian sect looked at Qingfeng kneeling outside the palace door and couldn't help but mutter in his heart. Since you want to see it, come in and take a look. Suddenly, a voice rang out in his mind, and Qingfeng's body flew uncontrollably towards the interior of Bio Palace. Until I truly see how grand the legendary Sage Dojo is. In the Bio Palace, it is like a small world, with innate essence rolling, auspicious clouds drifting, countless rays of rosy light, and 1,000 auspicious energies, creating a stunning image of a fairyland. On the central gossip platform, a figure in green clothes with a chaotic aura quietly sits on the platform. Under the 8 trigrams platform, 8 extraordinary figures stand on both sides. How is it? What's the difference from what I imagined? Tong Tian asked. Pure, pure. The 3 words that had hardly gone through the brain just spoke out like this. At this moment, Qingfeng is awkwardly able to carve out 3 bedrooms and 1 living room. The pure innate essence in Bio Palace made his body instinctively feel intoxicated, like itching in his mouth. Without noticing it for a moment, 365 acupoints around the heavens were crazily absorbed. This is not the most important thing. What's important is that it's okay for you to steal some innate essence. After all, the 8 masters and uncles in front are also secretly sucking. But everyone has a certain tolerance. Just absorb a little bit, like you, just start swallowing whales without knowing how to hide it. The key is that the one across from you is one of the 6 saints of heaven and earth. Not to mention that even the 8 masters and uncles in front of you have noticed such a big commotion. Even with a small gesture, you may not be able to escape their attention. Then suck more. I saw Tong Tian casually wave his hand, and a green lotus ball fell at the back. He raised his hand and said, "Sit down." Xia Shizu, Qingfeng respectfully saluted and sat on the cattail to absorb the innate essence, then left Tong Tian and others aside. Actually, we can't blame Qingfeng, we can blame the 3 masters. Who made their transmission of the 9 transformations Qingfeng Ju so abnormal. Every turn requires a terrifying amount of energy to refine the body. Last time, he was able to officially cultivate the 9 transformations Qingfeng formula to the 2nd transformation of Xiangong, but he absorbed the magnificent power of several Huiyuan masters from San Xiao who took care of the medicine garden, and with the help of thunder, he was able to break through. In the next decade, although Qingfeng never stopped absorbing spiritual energy, how could that little bit of spiritual energy from San Xiao Island be absorbed? That's why his cultivation progress is very slow. 009 Shizu, Tusun is willing to replace all the senior uncles and uncles. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Although the cultivation has reached the peak of human immortality, the energy in the body is too small to refine the body, nor can it trigger heavenly calamity. How can we break through in this way? Okay, I have to say that youth is capital. Seeing that Qingfeng had already settled down, he said 2 good things in a row and then nodded in satisfaction as he looked at the 8 disciples in front of him. His disciples, especially the first 8, are all highly expected by him. In the Jade Void Palace of Kunlun Mountain, there was a primitive saying. How many disciples were hurt by people with fur and horns, and those who were wet and turned into eggs? Over the years, his bloodline has been like this, but he has been holding his breath in his heart, especially the 8 disciples who have been following him since the beginning, and they have been practicing even harder. Until now, the eldest disciple of the inner sect, Duo Bao, has slain the evil corpse for many years, and it is only one chance away from that moment when the two turns occur. The fire spirit Holy Mother and Cloud Sky were also dissatisfied with their high expectations, and they successively beheaded their bodies to directly achieve quasi-sainthood. Zhao Gongming, Wudang Holy Mother, and Guiling Holy Mother Qiongxiao Bixiao, among others, are now in the realm of Daluo Golden Immortal. It can be said that in this debate over the interception of teachings, their first-generation leader was both a saint of heaven and earth, regardless of their height, but their second-generation disciples defeated the 12 Golden Immortals in their interception of teachings. Not only that, but also the 7 Immortals under his tutelage, Lvu, Luo Xian, and others have all achieved the status of Tai Golden Immortals. This wine makes Tong Tian even more excited, and he wants to go directly to the Jade Void Palace to show off to the Primordial. After all, at their level, what they are willing to do now is save face. As long as you can make me face well, then everything is easy to say. As for those 3 generations of disciples, they are now recklessly absorbing innate essence and are not among the comparison this time. Good teacher, I'm going to start preaching. After speaking, the sound of the Great Road echoed through every corner of Bio Palace and even Jinao Island. Everyone slowly immersed themselves in the enlightenment, with a drunken expression on their faces. But soon, the 8 disciples in front opened their eyes and looked up at the teacher. The master's preaching started from scratch, and for these people, it's like a high school candidate suddenly taking a kindergarten course. How can they not be depressed? Suddenly, the 8 of them seemed to have thought of something. The second-generation disciples of Jie Jiao, who were already collecting disciples, and the education of the third-generation disciples should also be put on the agenda, and cannot be surpassed by Jie Jiao. Thinking of this, several people not only exclaimed, "Master is truly a master," what they think is comprehensiveness. Although Su Qingfeng was immersed in absorbing innate essence and couldn't extricate himself, he also knew that there were not many opportunities to listen to the sage's preaching. Although his current state does not require much insight into the Tao, it does not prevent him from first reciting the Tao taught by Tong Tian and then integrating it in the future when needed. In the blink of an eye, months have passed. On Jinao Island, there are people who are as intoxicated as madness, as well as those who are as demonic as the wind, and some who are shrouded in mist and confusion, without knowing what to say. In the Bio Palace, the leader of the Tongtian sect sits on a cloud bed, his mouth flowing like a river, and the source of the Great Road is endless. As Tong Tian said, Su Qingfeng memorized every word without dropping it, savored it from the beginning again, and was deeply intoxicated by it. Listening to Tong Tian preaching, many things that were originally unclear suddenly became clear. After absorbing several months of innate essence, Su Qingfeng finally accumulated enough energy from heaven and earth to break through, but he dared not break through here. Are you joking? Breaking through at the place of the sage, is it a question of whether the calamity will come that day or not? How can he refine his body without the thunder of the heavenly calamity? What strength can he break through? How about it? Do you have any insights? Seeing the 8 disciples open their eyes, a joyful expression appeared on their faces. More masters, ancestors, preach. The 8 disciples, along with Su Qingfeng, stood up one after another to worship. Tong Tian said 3 good, satisfied thumbs up. Immediately, Tong Tian continued to speak. Previously, Master asked me to go to Xixiao Palace with several senior uncles to discuss the establishment of the Heavenly Court, confer the title of the Lord of the Heavenly Court, manage the cycle of world order, receive the fortune of heaven and earth, and enjoy the merits of heaven and earth. In the end, the Master Hongjun Xingyi ruled and bestowed the name Haotian and Yaoqi on his disciple. Grant Haotian Sword, Haotian Tower, Haotian Mirror, Haotian Seal, Haotian Zhong, and the 5 treasures of Haotian as Haotian, and confer the title of Lord of the Heavenly Court of the Flood and Wilderness, managing all sentient beings in the flood and wilderness. Yaoqi is the golden mother of Yaoqi, assisting Haotian by giving Yao Qi a golden fork to protect her body, and also giving her innate spiritual roots and peach trees to suppress the heavenly qi. The establishment of the heavenly court has made the rules and order of the flood and wilderness clearer, but the vastness of the flood and wilderness cannot be achieved solely by Haotian alone. In the vast sky, there is only one commander with a light pole, and there are no generals to send below. Haotian seeks help from his master, Honghuang, the founder. The founder has issued a decree, appointing the 6 imperial guards and the eastern extreme Qinghua emperor to assist Haotian in governing all ethnic groups and overseeing all classes. Emperor Qingfeng of Antarctica assists Haotian in overseeing the cultivation of spiritual spirits and monsters, and oversees all spirits. Emperor Tai-Chi of the West assisted Haotian in overseeing the 3 talents of heaven, earth, and man, and in military affairs, commanding all thunder. Ziwei, the great emperor of the North Pole, assists Haotian in controlling the longitude and latitude of heaven, earth, sun, moon, and stars, and governs all the stars. Following the example of the later Earth Emperor, Qingtian only governs yin and yang fertility, the 6 cycles of reincarnation, and governs all lands. Haotian is the god of the Golden Palace and the Jade Emperor, ranking first among the 6 emperors. He governs all living beings in the world and oversees the 10 directions of the flood and wilderness. Master, what is the relationship between this heavenly court matter and my interception of teachings? Duo Bao asked inexplicably. Tong Tian sighed and said, Daozu has an order. Today, the court has just been established, and the positions below are vacant. Let us and a few others assist Haotian as much as possible. Master's intention is for us to go to the Haotian tent to pay homage. The usually hot-tempered turtle spirit Holy Mother asked. They are disciples of the sages. If they were to ascend to heaven as subjects of the heavenly court, then they would have landed their status. Tong Tian waved his hand and said, Your master uncle and Nuwa master uncle are basically isolated, with the West being barren and there aren't many disciples under our sect. Only I and your master uncle have many disciples under our sect. You all know which master you are, stingy and extremely protective of calves. The 12 golden immortals under your sect are like precious treasures, and I don't think they will give them to the heavenly court. Yushu doesn't want to give it to anyone, my Bio lineage can't do this. Think about it, who would be willing to lead their disciples to the heavenly court for temporary positions? Upon hearing this, the scene became awkward and everyone lowered their heads in silence. They are not only under the sect of saints now, but also at ease with Qingfeng. But once they go to the heavenly court to serve, they will have an emperor on their head and feel uncomfortable with Qingfeng. Who wants to suffer from this kind of filth? Shizu, Tusun is willing to replace all the senior uncles and uncles to go to the heavenly court for temporary employment. At this moment, Su Qingfeng stood up from the Qinglian Putuan and bowed to the sky with a bow. I didn't expect the disciples I taught to have such a sense. You are listening at Novel Full.Audio. Because in his opinion, there's nothing wrong with hanging a job in the heavenly court. I can't help but enjoy the fortune of the heavenly way, and at the same time, I can also enjoy the merits of the heavenly way. Moreover, the rise of the heavenly court and the decline of the sect are the major trends of the heavenly way. Although both primitive and heavenly beings have achieved the position of saints, being in them certainly has blind spots in one's eyes, unlike Su Qingfeng who can see through so clearly. The most important thing is that during this trip to Jinao Island, Su Qingfeng received many benefits from his disciples, so today's cause must be tomorrow's fruit. What he said about being willing to take over the heavenly court as a substitute for his senior uncle and uncle is actually to settle a cause and effect relationship. Qingfeng, you. Seeing this, the 3 masters quickly spoke up. After all, how could they hope their disciples would go to the heavenly court to work as servants? The teachings of the 3 masters over the past 10 years are unforgettable to Qingfeng. He once remembered that on the day of his apprenticeship, the 3 masters taught his disciples that cultivating immortality and learning should be based on benefiting one side. Today, the disciples are in this heavenly court, so I must use this as a warning that they will benefit the other side. Su Qingfeng kowtowed heavily to Master Sanxiao. It's so easy to say. I didn't expect the disciples I taught to have this kind of enlightenment. It's really great. The leader, Tong Tian, spoke faintly and looked at San Xiao. Thank you for your praise, Master. However, Qingfeng's cultivation is still good. Is it inappropriate for me to join the Heavenly Court? That's why Yunxiao wishes to join the Heavenly Court. Please allow me, Master. After thanking Master with Qiongxiao and Bixiao, Yunxiao couldn't help but speak up. This scene couldn't help but make Tong Tian dumbfounded. Even Zhao Gongming, the narrator, and several disciples such as Duo Bao were surprised. Surprisingly, this cloud sky would willingly be humiliated and serve in the Heavenly Court for the sake of his disciples. Beside them, Bixiao and Qiongxiao also followed their sister Yunxiao's wishes to go to the Heavenly Court for temporary employment. Master and disciples are willing to go to the Heavenly Court to serve, and I hope Master can fulfill it. Su Qingfeng's eyes were moist, and then he kowtowed and knelt again towards the sky. If it weren't for him speaking out, nothing would actually have happened. But if he instigates the trouble, how can the Master take responsibility for it? Alas! Seeing this, Tong Tian sighed and said, You Master and disciple have a deep affection, but hanging a position in the Heavenly Court is not a matter of life and death. Don't be so sad. Qingfeng, you are the third-generation chief disciple of my Bio lineage. When joining the Heavenly Court this time, please remember not to weaken my sect reputation. Nowadays, your strength is not as strong as that of the Golden Immortal, so Master Zhu gifted you a treasure. This treasure contains innate essence that forms a space and integrates attack and defense, which can protect you comprehensively. A golden gourd appeared on the green lotus bun with a stream of light. Looking at the gourd in front of him, whether it was Su Qingfeng or the 8 disciples, they were all dumbfounded. The rich innate essence on the gourd is enough to explain all the problems. They don't know if they don't have innate spiritual treasures in their hands, but whether it's the 24 Ding Hai pearls in Zhao Gongming's hand or the Honghuang golden dough in Yunxiao's hand, the innate essence is not as strong as this gourd. This is the Xiantian Lingbao armor removal gourd, produced from the Xiantian gourd vine of Tianzhu Buzhou Mountain. Tong Tian introduced it to him. Innate gourd vine, this is the innate treasure that is collectively known as the broken corpse demon with chaos Qinglian. Because without it, it is because each of them is not preserved by the heavenly way, only through dismemberment can they survive. Legend has it that there are a total of 7 gourds growing on this innate gourd vine. Empress Nyuwa took one to summon demons, Emperor Jun took one to slay immortals, Laozi took one to pack pills, Hongyun took one to scatter souls, Tong Tian took one to raise a lin, Yuanshi took one to refine demons, and the 7th one is missing. She doesn't know where to go, but she never wanted to be here in Tong Tian. In addition, under the gourd, there are 2 pieces of yin-yang banana su, one of which was taken away by Laozi for fan wind, and the other was taken away by Mingi Laozu for fan fire. Finally, Nyuwa uprooted the gourd root and threw it in the mud, creating the innate human race. The gourd root has the ability to create humans, achieving the treasure of innate virtues and creating human whips. Is it evident that this treasure is extraordinary? In the envious eyes of the 8 disciples, Su Qingfeng put away the armor removal gourd and gave a fierce bow to Tong Tian. Go ahead. With a wave of his big hand, Su Qingfeng felt his body light, just like entering the Bio palace before. After regaining his senses, he arrived at a strange hall. It is said to be a grand hall, but in fact, it is more like a small world, with a vast expanse of thousands of miles. But seeing the white clouds floating here, at a glance, there were only endless rows of ancient and rustic bookshelves arranged neatly, with countless jade books and bamboo slips entwined with spiritual light on the bookshelves. This is the Bio library. It's so big. Su Qingfeng lost his mind slightly. I think it's because Tong Tian saw Master Wudong asking him to come in and observe the book collection. Now I have to take their place and go to the Heavenly Court as a temporary official. It's inconvenient for me to have more cause and effect on myself, so I personally brought myself in. At that moment, he stopped daydreaming, moved his body, took a step, and followed his footsteps to transform into two people, heading in two directions. At the next fork in the road, 2 parts were 4, 4 parts were 8 when the clone reaches the limit after reaching thousands. Thousands of Su Qingfeng picked up and started flipping through the collection at the same time. Gradually, Su Qingfeng entered a state, like before absorbing innate essence, crazily absorbing books from the Bo Palace collection. No matter what is right or wrong. Please note it down first and study it when you have time. Just like the supermarket is free, whether it's useful or not, we can move it home first. Master Qingfeng is still young. Let him go to the Heavenly Court for a temporary job. As a master, I can't rest assured. Please allow me to travel with him. In the Bo Palace, Yun Xiao spoke up and begged. Children and grandchildren have their own blessings, and there will always be a day when young eagles leave their nests. If they encounter any difficulties in the future, you can help them. There are already other candidates to be appointed as teachers in the Heavenly Court. Yes, although Yun Xiao was very reluctant in his heart, he could only listen to his master and step aside. Zhao Gongming, summon your disciples and follow the Qingfeng to the Heavenly Court to report your duties. A stream of light flashed by, and Zhao Gongming led the order to leave the Bo Palace. Although the sage's preaching has come to an end, outside the Bo Palace, there is still a sea of people, and some disciples who have fallen into enlightenment have not yet restored the spiritual platform. Zhao Gongming sat in front of the Bo Palace and waited. Someone left, but he didn't stop them. He just waited for everyone to recover. Of course, most people still have some power. They know that out of the 8 disciples who have entered, only 1 has come out, and they still have a decree in their hand. There must be something to say. Just sit quietly and wait. After a long time, Zhao Gongming looked at the many disciples below and said, "Today, the court has been established, and the position of Immortal is vacant. Our teacher is in charge of heaven, and in order to maintain order in the flood and wilderness, we have chosen disciples with a kind temperament and talented talents to go to the Heavenly Court to report their work. Zi Xian, Zong Yuan, Bai Jingshui, Xiao Tian, Yu Lei Zi. A sound of 80.1 names resounded above the Bo Palace.